Today we're continuing on the 6th day, discussing chapter 8 of the 10th canto and Krishna book, chapter 8. We'll be hearing today about this super excellent, pure prema bhakti of Yashoda Mayi.
She also saw within his mouth herself taking Krishna on her lap and having him sucking her breast. Upon seeing all this, she became struck with awe and began to wonder whether she were dreaming or actually seeing something extraordinary. She concluded that she was either dreaming or seeing the play of illusory energy of Supreme Personality of Godhead. She thought that she had become mad, mentally deranged, to see all those wonderful things. Krishna book, chapter 8. Mother Yashoda began to argue within herself. Is this a dream, or is it an illusory creation by external energy? Has this been manifested by my own intelligence, or is it some mystic power of my child? Srimad Bhagavatam 10:8-40.
So practically it's impossible to understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And Mother Yashoda, although she was engaging as the mother of the Supreme Lord, when he displayed just a fraction of his potencies, she became completely bewildered. We'll see here, time and again, how Krishna, for his dearest devotees, he displays some of his opulences just to remind them that he's not an ordinary personality. So here, once before he did this for Mother Yashoda, now again, because we had just heard yesterday about his childhood antics, how naughty he was, all the mischief he did. But just to remind Mother Yashoda that he's not an ordinary child, now when his cowherd boyfriends and Balaram have made another bigger complaint against him, Mother Yashoda looks in his mouth and she sees the entire cosmic manifestation.
When Mother Yashoda saw this wonderful manifestation within the mouth of her child, she began to argue within herself about whether it was a dream. Then she considered, I am not dreaming because my eyes are open. I am actually seeing what is happening. I am not sleeping, nor am I dreaming. Then maybe this is an illusion created by Deva Maya. But that is also not possible. What business would the demigods have showing such things to me? I am an insignificant woman with no connection with the demigods. Why should they take the trouble to put me into Deva Maya? That also is not possible. Purport to 10:8-40.
So within her mind, just in a flash of a second, Mother Yashoda was trying to understand what she was seeing, but it was beyond her comprehension. So finally, she comes to a conclusion.
Then Mother Yashoda considered whether the vision might be due to bewilderment. I am fit in health. I am not diseased. Why should there be any bewilderment? It is not possible that my brain is deranged. Since I am ordinarily quite fit to think, then this vision must be due to some mystic power of my son, as predicted by Garga Muni. Thus she finally concluded that the vision was due to her son's activities and nothing else. Purport to 10:8-40.
So we see here the importance of associating with Shastra, Sadhu and Guru. Garga Muni would become the Guru. In other words, he would give the second initiation, the Brahmin thread, to Krishna and Balaram later in Mathura. And as a sadhu, because he had full knowledge of the Vedas and particularly the Jyotish Shastra, he was able to convince Mother Yashoda and Nanda Maharaj that your child is as good as Narayan. Actually, he was better than Narayan. So when Mother Yashoda became bewildered, she remembered the words of the great sadhu Garga Muni, and this immediately pacified her. She said, oh yes, he already told us. He's very special, this child. Then she thought, it may be cosmic mystic power attained by
my child. And therefore I am perplexed by such visions within his mouth. Let me offer my respectful obeisances unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead, under whose energy bodily self and bodily possessions are conceived. Krishna Book, Chapter 8.
So, though Mother Yasoda she appeared to be a very simple cowherd woman who grew up her whole life in the village, nor did she ever study the Vedas. She simply got the association of the Brahmins and the sadhus who came to visit the home of Nanda Maharaj, but still she had the topmost realization about the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And when something beyond her comprehension occurred, she immediately took shelter of the Supreme Lord.
Therefore, let me surrender unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead and offer my obeisances unto Him, who is beyond conception of human speculation, the mind, activities, words and arguments, who is the original cause of this cosmic manifestation, by whom the entire cosmos is maintained, and by whom we can conceive of its existence. Let me simply offer my obeisances, for He is beyond my contemplation, speculation and meditation. He is beyond all my material activities. Srimad Bhagavatam 10.8.41.
So, we've read, of course this will happen much later in Krishna's pastimes, but Krishna being the friend in the Sakyaras with Arjuna, he also displayed his Virata Roop, or the entire cosmic manifestation, to Arjuna. And Arjuna reacted in the same way. Because Arjuna loved Krishna as his friend, he was two-armed, he was always joking with him and sitting with him and lying with him. And then suddenly, when the Lord appeared, multi-headed, thousands of arms, thousands of eyes, thousands of legs, mouth, eating everything, he became frightened and he became astonished. And actually, you can't love the universal form, because love is just between the same species. Birds of a feather flock together. So when Krishna appeared in his human-like form, he had so many rasas with all the different devotees here. So in the friendly rasa, Arjuna also simply took shelter of Krishna when he saw this manifestation. Now, in this Vatsalya rasa, Mother Yasoda also was shown this Virata Roop, and she became completely bewildered, she became fearful, and then after contemplation, she simply took shelter of the Supreme Lord.
One simply has to realize the greatness of Supreme Personality of Godhead. One should not try to understand Him by any material means, subtle or gross. Mother Yashoda, being a simple woman, could not find out the real cause of the vision. Therefore, out of maternal affection, she simply offered obeisances unto the Supreme Lord to protect her child. She could do nothing but offer obeisances to the Lord. It is said, Achintya khaluye bhava natans tarkena yojayet. Mahabharat Bhishma Parva 5.22. One should not try to understand the supreme cause by argument or reasoning. Purport to 10.8.41.
So according to Mother Yasoda, her child was Krishna. Now Krishna had a name. And the Supreme Lord was somebody else. Because she and her husband, they worshipped Narayana in the Shalagram Shila form. And they had the other deities also. So she took shelter of the Supreme Lord and simply prayed to him for the protection of her son Krishna.
When we are beset by some problem for which we can find no reason, there is no alternative than to surrender to the Supreme Lord and offer Him our respectful obeisances. Then our position will be secure. This was the means adopted in the instance also by Mother Yashoda. Whatever happens, the original cause is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Sarva Karana Karanam. Brahma Samhita 5.1. When the immediate cause cannot be ascertained, let us simply offer our obeisances at the lotus feet of the Lord. Mother Yashoda concluded that wonderful things she saw within the mouth of her child were due to him, although she could not clearly ascertain the cause. Purport to 10.8.41.
So for a devotee, particularly beginning with Lord Brahma, Ishvaraha Paramaha Krishna, Sachidananda Vigraha, Anadir Adir Govinda, Sarva Karana Karanam. So Sarva Karana Karanam means he's the cause of all causes. So when we can't understand why something is happening, we can attest that Krishna caused it. We can't understand it, but we know who the source of that cause is, and that's always Sri Krishna. It might be, in our opinion, something bad, something good, something terrifying, something very happy, but that's just according to our vision, which is covered. But everything is happening by the supreme will of the Lord, and Mother Yasoda came to this conclusion in this instance.
Therefore, when the devotee cannot ascertain the cause of suffering, he concludes, Tatte nukampam susamikshamano bhunjana evatmakritam vipakam rudvagva purvir vidadan namaste jive tuyo mukti pade sadaya bhag. Srimad Bhagavatam 10.14.8. The devotee accepts that it is due to his own past misdeeds that the Supreme Personality of Godhead has caused him some small amount of suffering. Thus he offers obeisances to the Lord again and again. Such a devotee is called Mukti Pade Sadaya Bhak. That is, he is guaranteed his liberation from the material world. Purport to 10.8.41.
So this is the example of a pure devotee who's taking shelter of the Supreme Lord, and although she can't understand why this is happening, what the result will be, she's simply taking shelter at his feet. Now we had one example in our life. One day a devotee was doing the full Brajmandal Parikrama alone, and he was at the furthest point in Brajmandal, which is in Rajasthan. It was Kadiravan, big mountain. And he became paralyzed there. Somehow or other, his spine paralyzed him and he couldn't move. So it took 4 hours to get there, to reach him finally. They had to put him on a blanket. 4 men had to pick him up and put him in the car for us to take him to the hospital. When he finally got in the car, he said, if anyone tells me the verse, Tatenu Kampan, this verse, I'm going to punch them in the nose. So sometimes when we're under extreme distress, such suffering, he couldn't move. But he couldn't relate that this is happening by the will of the Supreme Lord. Everything in our life, we can become paralyzed. We could die. Our loved ones could die. These are the bad things. Or just the opposite. Wonderful things could happen. All of this is coming from the Supreme Lord, and the devotee simply thinks that due to my own past misdeeds, all of this is happening. Because whether it's the results of punya or the results of pap, it's all the results of our deeds. And the devotee simply waits patiently until Krishna decides he should be liberated from the reactions of all of his past activities. And also, he considers whatever happens to just be a pinprick. His whole arm should have been cut off, but instead Krishna just gives him a little pinprick to remind him of all of his past misdeeds.
My dear Lord, one who constantly waits for your causeless mercy to be bestowed upon him and who goes on suffering the reactions of his past misdeeds, offering you respectful obeisances from the core of his heart, is surely eligible for liberation, for it has become his rightful claim. The purport of this verse is that when a devotee is in a calamitous condition, he takes it as a benediction of the Supreme Lord and takes responsibility himself for his past misdeeds. In such a condition, he offers still more devotional service and is not disturbed. One who lives in such a disposition of mind, engaged in devotional service, is the most eligible candidate for promotion to the spiritual world. In other words, such a devotee's claim for promotion to the spiritual world is assured in all circumstances.
Now this is coming in the 10th canto, but in the previous cantos, Sukadeva Goswami has given so many examples of this, how the Pandavas suffered calamitous conditions and still their devotion increased for the Supreme Lord. They took more shelter of Him. How Jad Bharat, so many examples in the Srimad Bhagavatam of how the pure devotees in all types of miseries, Gajendra, Dhruva, how they took shelter of the Supreme Lord, and then the Supreme Lord liberated them.
As stated in Bhagavad-Gita 2.14, Matra sparshastu kaunteyas shitoshna sukha dukkhadaha agama payino nityas tansti dikshasva bharata. We should know that material suffering due to the material body will come and go. Therefore, we must tolerate the suffering and proceed with discharging our duty as ordained by our spiritual master. Purport to 10.8.41.
So when Krishna finally speaks the Bhagavad-Gita for the benefit of humanity, he's 125 years old, although he's still Navayovana. He appears to be a young boy, no older than 15 years old. And he's speaking it for the benefit of his friend Arjun, because Arjun was in extreme distress. He didn't want to kill his family members. So Mother Yasoda, why did he display the universal form to her? Well, as a mother, she was very concerned about him because she wanted him to grow up as a good boy. But she was getting complaints from everywhere. So these complaints were not ordinary. They were actually bringing pleasure to the devotees. But Mother Yasoda, as the caretaker of her little child, she had to consider what was the best way to correct him. Before she did anything, Krishna gave her a little reminder that he's not an ordinary child.
While Mother Yashoda was thinking in this high philosophical way, Lord Krishna again expanded his internal energy just to bewilder her with maternal affection. Immediately Mother Yashoda forgot all philosophical speculation and accepted Krishna as her own child. She took him on her lap and became overwhelmed with maternal affection. She thus began to think, Krishna is not understandable to the masses through the gross process of knowledge, but he can be received through the Upanishads and Vedanta, or mystic yoga system and Sankhya philosophy. Then she began to think of Supreme Personality of Godhead as her own begotten child. Krishna Book, Chapter 8.
So we've gone through now this great turning point of when Garga Muni came to reveal to Nanda and Yashoda who their son actually was. Philosophically, they heard it, but because of the influence of Yogamaya, because Krishna wanted to enjoy his childhood pastimes with his parents, they were sometimes covered by this Yogamaya, and sometimes they had some realization that their son was not ordinary.
She then said, Let me offer my respectful obeisances unto him, under whose illusory energy I am thinking that Nanda Maharaj is my husband and Krishna is my son, and that all the properties of Nanda Maharaj belongs to me, and that all the cowherd men and women are my subjects. All this misconception is due to the illusory energy of the Supreme Lord. So let me pray to him that he may protect me always. Krishna Book, Chapter 8.
So because we're not impersonalists trying to deny and negate all relationships, Mother Yasoda, she was playing the part of Krishna's mother. And it was a very important responsibility, just like a drama. In a drama, people take different roles. And a good actor, they become that person in the drama. They actually live that person. So Mother Yasoda, though she was an infinitesimal, Mame Vangsa Jivalo, she was just a Jiva soul, she had been awarded, due to her past punya, sacrifices, tapasya, she was awarded that role in Krishna's pastime to be his mother. And she was playing that role. But sometimes that curtain of Yogamaya was removed, and she remembered that actually I'm just an ordinary living entity, but due to this covering, I'm thinking I'm Nanda Maharaj's wife, I'm the queen of all of the subjects here in Braj. And then again Krishna would draw this curtain of Yogamaya over her so she could perform her duties as his mother.
It is by the influence of Supreme Lord's Maya that I am wrongly thinking that Nanda Maharaj is my husband and that Krishna is my son, and that because I am queen of Nanda Maharaj, all the wealth of cows and calves are my possessions, and all the cowherd men and their wives are my subjects. Actually I also am eternally subordinate to the Supreme Lord. He is my ultimate shelter. He is my ultimate shelter. Srimad Bhagavatam 10.8.42.
So in Shantaras, we come to this realization that we're the eternal servitors of the Supreme Lord, and we appreciate His greatness. But from Shantaras develops the attitude that God is so great, the Supreme Lord is so powerful, that I want to become His servant. And from there the rasa begins, the dasya ras. And then from dasya ras comes the sakya ras, that I want to enjoy with the Lord, I want to play with Him, I want to increase His enjoyment. And above the sakya ras finally comes the vatsalya ras, when one develops such strong love for the Lord that one wants to actually protect the Lord, feed Him, maintain Him. So this is the level that Yashodamayi had attained, this pure prema bhakti in vatsalya ras. But when Krishna removed that covering of Yogamaya, she remembered that she was simply a simple servant of the Supreme Lord. Then Krishna covered her again, and she played her role as his mother.
Following the footsteps of Mother Yashoda, everyone should follow this mentality of renunciation. Whatever wealth, opulence, or whatever else we may possess belongs not to us but to Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is ultimate shelter of everyone and ultimate owner of everything. As stated by the Lord Himself in Bhagavad-Gita, Bhoktaram yajnatapasam sarvaloka maheshwaram surdam sarvabhutana jnatva mam shantim ricchati. The sages, knowing me as the ultimate purpose of all sacrifices and austerities, the Supreme Lord of all planets and demigods, and the benefactor and well-wisher of all living entities, attains peace from the pangs of material miseries. Purport to 10.8.42.
So naturally, when we have 100 rupees, we also have 10 rupees. So in the beginning stage of devotional life, we understand this sloka, Bhoktaram Yagyatapasam, that Krishna is the supreme enjoyer, and He's of all yagyas and tapasya that's being performed, and He's the supreme controller, and He's the friend of all the living entities. These three things. And Prabhupada said this is the peace formula, the shantim richate. If we can just understand these three things, then we can attain peace in this world. So when we understand this, then we develop a desire to serve the Supreme Lord. And not only that, in this mentality of renunciation, we're prepared to do anything for the Lord. So the guru, the importance of taking shelter of a guru is he trains us in this mentality of renunciation and service. He gives us assignments, and we try to fulfill them for his pleasure. And because he's the supreme, he's the representative, the supreme personality of servitor Godhead, Krishna accepts our service. So by serving the guru, we're automatically serving the Supreme Lord directly, and our relationship with Krishna simultaneously develops. So at one point in ISKCON, due to Sahajiya association, this Putana there were some devotees who started a Gopi Bhava club, and they rejected studying Bhagavad-Gita. They didn't want to hear about the other rasas. They were only interested in hearing about Gopi Bhava and the relationship that Krishna had with his most dear gopis. And when Prabhupada heard about it, he told them, first deserve, then desire. So how do we deserve to have an elevated relationship with Krishna? That's by serving the Guru. So, and then our desires, if the Guru sees that we're sincere in our service, that we're first-class disciples, then he blesses us to advance in our devotional service. So Mother Yasoda was in such an exalted situation that she was awarded this position as Krishna's mother, and he was just giving her a glimpse of how fortunate she actually was, a glimpse.
We should not be proud of our possessions, as expressed by Mother Yashoda herein. I am not the owner of possessions, the opulent wife of Nanda Maharaj. The estate, the possessions, the cows, the calves, and the subjects like gopis and cowherd men are all given to me. One should give up thinking of my possessions, my son, and my husband. Janasya mohoyam aham mameti. Srimad Bhagavatam 5.5.8. Nothing belongs to anyone but the Supreme Lord. Only because of illusion do we wrongly think I am existing or everything belongs to me. Thus Mother Yashoda completely surrendered unto the Supreme Lord. Purport to 10.8.42.
So with the Supreme Lord being directly in her arms, in front of her, she, as a highly advanced, self-realized soul, she realized that all of her so-called possessions belonged to the Supreme Lord. Now already, everything she had that she had dedicated to the Lord's service. But now, in a moment of very clear thinking, she rededicates everything to him, who's sitting in her arms. So her home, her possessions, her wealth, her position, everything she dedicates to the Supreme Lord, who's her little son.
For the moment, she was rather disappointed, thinking, my endeavors to protect my son by charity and other auspicious activities are useless. The Supreme Lord has given me many things, but unless he takes charge of everything, there is no assurance of protection. I must therefore ultimately seek shelter of Supreme Personality of Godhead. As stated by Prahlad Maharaj, Srimad Bhagavatam 7.9.19, Balasya neha sharanam pitarau nrasimha. A father and mother cannot ultimately take care of their children. Ato gruhakshetra sutapta vittair janasya mohoyam aham mameti. Srimad Bhagavatam 5.5.8. One's land, home, wealth and all of one's possessions belong to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, although we wrongly think, I am this and these things are mine. Purport to 10.8.42.
So Mother Yasoda, because we have to remember the different roles of the mother and the father. The mother is with the child 24 hours a day. And the father, he has to go work to maintain the family. So his relationship, although he's always thinking of the family, that's why he works, out of love for the family, his children, his wife, he's not physically present with the child. It's the mother's responsibility to raise the child. And it's her responsibility also to protect the child. But Mother Yasoda realizes that I can't actually do anything. All I can do is pray to the Supreme Lord to protect my little child. So, of course, the little child is the Supreme Lord, but she was praying to her deity, Narayan, Vishnu, to please protect my little child, Krishna.
While Mother Yashoda was thinking in this high philosophical way, Lord Krishna again expanded his internal energy just to bewilder her with maternal affection. Immediately Mother Yashoda forgot all philosophical speculation and accepted Krishna as her own child. She took him on her lap and became overwhelmed with maternal affection. She thus began to think, Krishna is not understandable to the masses through the gross process of knowledge, but he can be received through the Upanishads and Vedanta or mystic yoga system and Sankhya philosophy. Then she began to think of the Supreme Personality of Godhead as her own begotten child. It's Krishna book, chapter 8.
Sometimes the Bhagavatam and the Krishna book are exact. Prabhupada puts the Krishna book into his purports in the Srimad Bhagavatam, and I didn't catch it this time, I'm sorry.
Mother Yashoda, by the grace of the Lord, could understand the real truth. But then again, the Supreme Master, by the influence of internal potency Yogamaya, inspired her to become absorbed in intense maternal affection for her son. Srimad Bhagavatam 10.8.43.
Because Krishna had come to enjoy. When there's so many sages offering beautiful prayers from the Vedas to Krishna, he appreciates it. But when he sees Mother Yasoda with the big plate of prasadam, and he sees the gopis glancing at him from the side of their eyes, waiting to meet him at night, he's more attracted, because these different rasas are so pleasant for Krishna. So as the rasa increases and increases, Krishna gets more and more pleasure. Therefore, even though Mother Yasoda was a completely self-realized soul, he covered that knowledge so that she would treat him just like her little child.
Although Mother Yashoda understood the whole philosophy of life, at the next moment she was overwhelmed by affection for her son by the influence of Yogamaya. Unless she took care of her son Krishna, she thought, how could he be protected? She could not think otherwise, and thus she forgot all her philosophical speculations. This forgetfulness is described by Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur as being inspired by the influence of Yogamaya. Mohana sadharmyan mayan. Materialistic persons are captivated by Mahamaya, whereas devotees, by the arrangement of spiritual energy, are captivated by Yogamaya. Purport to 10.8.43.
So in the spiritual world, there's Mother Yasoda, Nanda Maharaj. Of course, Krishna is in the center of all relationships. And we also have a place in that family. What that place is may be due to the influence of Mahamaya since time immemorial. We're not remembering what that is. But through sincere service to the Guru, and the Guru then giving that service to the Supreme Lord, that forgetfulness is removed. That Mahamaya covering is removed. And then we can enter into the pastimes of the Supreme Lord in our particular individual relationship with Krishna. And that's a surprise. Right now we can't remember what it is. So at this situation in our life, we simply have to have faith that by serving the spiritual master with all of our energy throughout this life, at least one lifetime, let us give to our spiritual master. And then by the blessings of the spiritual master, he'll recommend us to Krishna to allow us to come back into the spiritual world and serve him again according to our particular rasa.
Immediately forgetting Yogamaya's illusion that Krishna had shown the universal form within his mouth, Mother Yashoda took her son on her lap as before, feeling increased affection in her heart for her transcendental child. Srimad Bhagavatam 10.8.44. Mother Yashoda regarded the vision of universal form within Krishna's mouth as an arrangement of Yogamaya, like a dream. As one forgets everything after a dream, Mother Yashoda immediately forgot the entire incident. As her natural feeling of affection increased, she decided to herself, now let this incident be forgotten. I do not mind. Here is my son. Let me kiss him. Purport to 10.8.44.
And this is exactly what Krishna wanted. He wanted his mother to forget all about what he had just shown her, so she would take him in her arms and love him and kiss him just like a mother ordinarily does to her little child.
The glories of Supreme Personality of Godhead are studied through the three Vedas, the Upanishads, the literature of Sankhya, and other Vaishnava literature. Yet Mother Yashoda considered that Supreme Person her ordinary child. Srimad Bhagavatam 10.8.45. As stated in Bhagavad-Gita 15.15, by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, the purpose of studying the Vedas is to understand Him. Vedaisya sarvairahameva vedyo. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu explained to Sanatana Goswami that there are three purposes in Vedas. One is to understand our relationship with Krishna, Sambandha. Another is to act according to that relationship, Abhideya. And third is to reach the ultimate goal, Prayojana. Purport to 10.8.45.
Now the Lord appears in unlimited forms. We heard that His different forms, His incarnations are just like waves in the ocean. They can't be counted. And depending upon our particular relationship with Krishna, the Supreme Lord, we're attracted to different forms of the Lord. Even the associates of Lord Chaitanya, some of them were pure devotees of Lord Ramachandra, and some of them were also devotees of Vishnu. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, what he taught us is pure love for Shamsundar, the Supreme Lord. So when Sanatana Goswami was receiving the spiritual instructions, how many days was it? In 22 days? Chaitanya Mahaprabhu explained to him these three processes. 1 month? 2 months? 2 months. Excuse me. So first begins Sambandha. So here in Vrindavan, the deity representing Sambandha is Madan Mohan. Then comes Abhideya, and that deity is Govindaji. And finally Prayojana, that is Gopinath. So when we chant when we're given the Gayatri Mantra, one of the Gayatri Mantras that's given to us contains those three different aspects of the Supreme Lord Sri Krishna: Kling Krishnaya, Govindaya, Gopijana Ballabhaya, Swaha. So that's Madan Mohan for Sambandha, Govinda for Abhideya, and then Gopijana Ballabha, Gopinath for Prayojana. So though we may not understand everything about this wonderful mantra, as we study more and more, we will learn that what Srila Prabhupada and the Parampara has given us is the opportunity to attain the ultimate goal, which is Prayojana, pure love.
The word Prayojana means necessities, and the ultimate necessity is explained by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Prema Pumartho Mahan. Greatest necessity for a human being is the achievement of love for the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Here we see that Mother Yashoda is on the highest stage of necessity, for she is completely absorbed in love for Krishna. Purport to 10.8.45.
So here she's serving and loving Krishna as her little son, trying to protect him, feed him, maintain him, everything a mother would do for her child selflessly, but at the same time always praying to the Supreme Lord, because she understands that without Him, she can't actually do anything. She can't protect her own child.
In the beginning, the Vedic purpose is pursued in three ways, Trayi, by Karma Kanda, Jnana Kanda and Upasana Kanda. When one reaches the complete perfect stage of Upasana Kanda, one comes to worship Narayana or Lord Vishnu. When Parvati asked Lord Mahadev, Lord Shiva, what is the best method of Upasana or worship? Lord Shiva answered, Aradhananam Sarvesham Vishnor Aradhanam Param. Vishnu Upasana or Vishnu Aradhana, worship of Lord Vishnu, is the highest stage of perfection as realized by Devaki. But here Mother Yashoda performs no Upasana, for she has developed transcendental ecstatic love for Krishna. Therefore her position is better than that of Devaki. In order to show this, Srila Vyasadeva enunciates this verse, Traya Chopanishad Bhishcha, etc. Purport to 10.8.45.
So Krishna showed in the beginning of his Leela, when he appeared, that he immediately left Vasudeva and Devaki to come to Braj to enjoy the pure love of his devotees in all the different rasas in Braj, secretly, because no one was allowed to know that he had actually been transferred there. So this is Krishna now enjoying Mother Yasoda's love, Nanda Maharaj's love, all the inhabitants' love in the different rasas secretly. And this is over and beyond, far, far more advanced than the upasana, the worship of Narayan. And proof of that is, Krishna spent how long with Devaki and Vasudeva? Not long at all, just long enough for them to offer prayers. And those prayers were in the mood of Jnana and Aishwarya. After that, Krishna says, take me away. This
Durga Devi is worshipping Krishna?
Yeah, well, it's not so easy to find perfect pictures to match everything that... Lord Shiva has recommended his wife because she asked him what's the highest form of worship. So he has recommended to her Aradhananam Sarvesam, of all types of worship. Vishnur Aradhanam Param. The most supreme is worship of Vishnu. So here, she is worshipping Vishnu. You see his forearms? Now you understand?
Yeah, she is one applying tilak like this, with one hand.
She's feeding him, applying tilak to him, and Lord Shiva is encouraging her.
There is similar one, Simantini Devi worshipping Gauranga in Mayapur, Rajapur, Jagannath. Huh? When a human being enters into the study of Vedas to obtain Vidya, knowledge, he begins to take part in human civilization. Then he advances further to study the Upanishads and gain Brahma-Jnana, impersonal realization of absolute truth. And then advancement still further to Sankhya Yoga in order to understand a supreme controller who is indicated in Bhagavad-Gita. Param Brahma Param Dhama Pavitram Paramam Bhavan Purusham Shashvatam Divyam Adidevam Ajam Vibhum. Bhagavad-Gita 10.12. When one understands that Purusha, the supreme controller, to be Paramatma, one is engaged in method of yoga. Dhyana avastita tadgatena manasat pashyanti yam yoginaha. Srimad Bhagavatam 12.13.1. But Mother Yashoda has surpassed all these stages. Purport to 10.8.45.
So we're building up now, trying to understand Mother Yasoda's supreme position of devotion. Again, when Prabhupada was informed about the Gopi Baba Club, he became so angry. He said, do they think that Radharani is superior to Mother Yasoda? Just see this love that Mother Yasoda has for Krishna. Now, because this is the particular, this section is glorifying Vatsalya Bhav. Whatever our rasa is, we really have to appreciate this love of Mother Yasoda. And Sukadeva Goswami is making it very clear to Parikshit Maharaj how pure her love is. Way beyond the study of the Upanishads, the practice of yoga. She's so much in love with Krishna that she forgets that he's the Supreme Lord.
She has come to the platform of loving Krishna as her beloved child, and therefore she is accepted to be on the highest stage of spiritual realization. The absolute truth is realized in three features: Brahmeti, Paramatmeti, Bhagavaniti Shabdate. Srimad Bhagavatam 1-11. But she is in such ecstasy that she does not care to understand what is Brahman, what is Paramatma, or what is Bhagavan. Bhagavan has personally descended to become her beloved child. Therefore, there is no comparison to Mother Yashoda's good fortune. as declared by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Ramya Kachid Upasana Vrajavadu Vargena Ya Kalpita. Purport to 10.8.45.
So these Brajavadu means the gopis. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu does not distinguish in this sloka between the elderly gopis and the young gopis. Now, perhaps the early pastimes of Radha and Krishna meeting are hidden within the Srimad Bhagavatam slokas, but what we're reading now is Srila Prabhupada's purport. And what Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says is that the highest worship is this worship that the gopis have for Krishna. And Prabhupada is applying it here to the elderly gopi Mother Yashoda. Both forms of gopis it can be applied to, because she has such intense love for Krishna that everything else is forgotten. And this is the importance of deity worship. In our contaminated state, when we, with our mundane vision, we can't see the Supreme Lord. He appears as the Archa Vigraha. And we begin, according to the Pancharataki Vidhi, to approach the Lord and to serve Him. And gradually, by understanding that this Murti, the Archa Vigraha, is non-different from Krishna, as we serve, our love increases and becomes purified. Our whole existence becomes purified. Our senses become purified. And gradually, we can see the Supreme Lord as the Archa Vigraha. So this is called practical devotional service, abhyas, when we're practicing. And then, through this practice, we can eventually have direct darshan of the Supreme Lord when all of our senses and our existence become purified. So we have to see what stage we are in our devotional service and take the proper steps according to the instruction of the Guru, how we can advance further. So at this point, rather than become sahajiya and think that Krishna is an ordinary child, we need to engage in deity service so that our senses can be purified, and then we can see Krishna in the spiritual world.
Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu recommended the affection of the gopis either in maternal affection or in conjugal love as the highest perfection in life. But suppose someone says, I can't see Krishna, how can I love him? Chaitanya Mahaprabhu answers, if you want to learn the process of worshipping Krishna, of loving Krishna, just try to follow the footsteps of the gopis. They never expected any return from Krishna. Krishna, we have done so much for you, you cannot give me this benediction? No. They never ask like that. That is the first class worship. No bargaining.
So in the material world, anyone who happens to be a mother or a father, they know how selfless it is to raise a little child from birth. A child being completely helpless. They have to do everything for the child. And never does a mother or a father think, what am I going to get out of this? No, in fact, the mother, she sees the stool of the baby as chandan. She loves that child so much. Simply out of pure love, she takes care of that helpless child. So that's called no bargaining.
We should not think that the privilege given to Mother Yashoda is not available to us. Everyone can have a similar privilege. If one loves Krishna as one's child, then one will have such a privilege, because the mother has the most love for the child. Even in this material world, there is no comparison to a mother's love, for a mother loves her child without any expectation of return. Of course, although that is generally true, this material world is so polluted that a mother sometimes thinks, my child will grow up and become a man, and when he earns money, I shall get it. Thus, there is still some desire to get something in exchange. But while loving Krishna, there are no selfish feelings, for that love is unalloyed, free from all material gain. Anya vilashita shunyam. Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu 1.1.11.
And the proof of this selfless love, wanting nothing in exchange, is that when Krishna was a grown man with his own children, with his so many wives, 16,108 wives, when Nanda Maharaj and Yashoda finally had darshan of Krishna in Kurukshetra, they still only saw him as a little 8-year-old child and put them on their laps and bathed him with their tears, and mother's milk began to flow. They never asked Krishna for anything. They did ask one thing, that he return to Vrindavan so they could again engage in all those loving pastimes with him.
The absolute truth, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, may be realized in different stages. As Lord says in Bhagavad-Gita 4.11, Ye yatha mam prapadyante taಂ sathaiva bhajamyaham mama vartmanu vartante manushya partha sarvashaha. As men surrender unto me, I reward them accordingly. Everyone follows my path in all respects, O son of Prutha. One may be a karmi, a jnani, a yogi, and then a bhakta or prema bhakta. But the ultimate stage of realization is prema bhakti, as actually demonstrated by Mother Yashoda. Purport to 10.8.45.
So if you remember at the very beginning, before Prabhupada even started the translation in the Krishna book, he gave us a sloka that by hearing the pastimes of Krishna, we can become cured of the bhava roga, of this disease of the material condition. So now by hearing of this pure love of Mother Yashoda, we can get a glimpse of what real pure maternal affection is for the Supreme Lord. And as Prabhupada just said before, any one of us could have that pure love if we aspire for it with Krishna as our child, simply by serving him selflessly. So this is the key to attain this perfection of life, which is prema bhakti. That's pure love in devotion.
There is a position where instead of asking, Oh God, please give us our daily bread, you can instead think of God will die if you not, what? You can instead think that God will die if you do not supply bread to him. That is the ecstasy of extreme love. There is such a relationship between Krishna and his devotee Radharani, the greatest devotee, the greatest lover of Krishna. Mother Yashoda is his lover as a parent. Sudama is his lover as a friend. Arjuna also as a friend. There are millions and billions of different kinds of direct devotees of Krishna. Although Krishna is not conquerable, but he likes to be conquered by his devotee. That is the position. Just like he willingly placed himself to be conquered by Mother Yashoda, to be conquered by Radharani, to be conquered by his friends.
There's so much to discuss here. Where to start? Let's see. You can instead think that God will die if you do not supply bread to him. So, when we reach the stage of pure love, we're interested in feeding Krishna. In our deity worship, minimum 6 times a day when we're serving Radha and Krishna, 6 times a day minimum, we feed them. And as we feed them, we're simultaneously feeding all of their associates because they get the prasadam. And first we do this as a regulative principle, because the Guru tells us 6 times a day you have to offer bhog, 6 times a day you have to offer arti, and we might not understand why. But as we do these things, then that love is developed. And we need to offer these things to Krishna because Krishna, he has to have a big breakfast, he's going to go out and herd the cows all day. Then we have to send him his lunch, beautiful lunch that he can share with all the cowherd boys. Then when he comes back, we have to give him this fantastic, the Sandhya Arti Bhog. And Prabhupada, when he set up the temple here, he made the biggest offering at night. He had all pukka, things offered at night. Samosas, 2 different kinds of pakoras, all fried puris. And he told us that Krishna is a young, growing boy. You have to feed him a lot of prasadam. So, of course, there wasn't enough money for all the boga, but now there is. So, when we develop love, these things are not just ritualistic performances. This is pure expression of our love for Krishna when we engage in serving the Krishna Balaram, Radhasham Sundar, and Shishi Gaurnitai. We have to feed them, otherwise how are they going to perform their pastimes all day and night? So the next is how Krishna likes to be conquered by his devotee. Now, depending upon which type of rasa there is, Krishna allows his devotees to conquer him. When they play their games, he loses, and his cowherd boyfriends ride on his shoulders. A very wonderful pastime is when Krishna goes to Mathura. He doesn't go alone. Of course, Balaram goes with him, Nanda Maharaj goes with him, all the cowherd boys are with him. And when he's entering the arena, after he kills Kuvalayapida, and they have the tusks of the elephant in their hands, they enter into the arena, and there's Kamsa, and here come the wrestlers, and Krishna and Balaram easily kill all of the wrestlers, and then all the wrestlers are lying there dead in the arena. Kamsa is in complete anxiety. And what does Krishna do? He starts playing with his friends in the arena, and they start wrestling. And his cowherd boyfriends then defeat him, and they pin Krishna down. Now Krishna had just killed these powerful wrestlers, but in play with his friends, he allows them to defeat him.
Certainly, Mother Yashoda had executed many pious activities, as a result of which she got the absolute truth, Supreme Personality of Godhead, as her son who sucked milk from her breast. Similarly, Nanda Maharaj also must have performed many great sacrifices and pious activities for Lord Krishna to become his son and address him as father. But it is surprising that Vasudeva and Devaki did not enjoy the transcendental bliss of Krishna's childhood pastimes, although Krishna was their real son. The childhood pastimes of Krishna are glorified even today by many sages and saintly persons, but Vasudeva and Devaki could not enjoy such childhood pastimes personally. The reason for this was explained by Shukadeva Goswami to Maharaj Parikshit as follows. Krishna Book, Chapter 8.
So after Krishna Balaram returned to Mathura, and they've killed Kamsa, and they see their mother and their father finally. It's been over 11 years. Actually, they never saw Balaram. It's the first time they're meeting Balaram, although he's their son as well, the elder son. So there's so much affection. But at first, Devaki and Vasudeva, again, they can't forget that Krishna is the Supreme Lord and Balaram is Shankarshan, Ananta. So they're in awe. Then Krishna realizes this isn't going to work. So he covers them with his Yogamaya. Then they approach him, they embrace them, they kiss them, and they see them as their little sons. Now after that, of course, Krishna and Balaram, they immediately wanted to go back to Vrindavan with all the cowherd boys and Nanda Maharaj. But because Vasudeva and Devaki hadn't seen them after suffering all these years, they were in prison, just waiting for them to come back. So Krishna went and he explained to Nanda Maharaj that I just have to satisfy your friends and then I'll come back as soon as everything is finished. Now, Ugrasen, his wife's name was Padmavati. She said, you don't have to go back there. They mistreated you so much as a child. They didn't feed you. You had to steal. We discussed that a few days ago. So then she said, anything, whatever expenses there were that Nanda Maharaj, he paid for your maintenance, we will pay him back double. And whatever he owes you for tending his cows, we won't make him pay. So then the whole balance will be clear and you never have to go back there again. So they had absolutely no understanding of these internal leelas that were going on in Braja, because they didn't get to see those leelas, and they had a different rasa with Krishna. Their rasa was mixed with this Aishwarya and Gyan. So now time is over for today. Hare Krishna.